call him daddy, or you're going to
see God.
The breakdown starts now.
It's so creepy.
It is. We got Iran, GOP bill, Zohran, so much that the Vanity Fair cover with Pedro Pascal.
I missed that part. We have the Labubu mania.
There's so much going on. I don't know how America is keeping up, but somehow we are.
Well, you know what? This is a country that has so many things going on right now. I feel like we're in sort of like information deception overload. And folks, we're glad to be back with you after 2 weeks because other than the fact that Maya and I apparently now are told we need adult supervision during the show.
Yes, we've been told.
See, I didn't do that. I didn't touch the controls.
I did it.
There it is. There's Kate Salkowitz, our tireless and brilliant producer, who is now going to supervise us from time to time.
She always keeps us on track, and I think that's what is most important. So, Kate, we're glad that you are here because things are so crazy that Trump is daddy now. Like the NATO chief called him daddy. What's going on?
Well, they are selling merch. So let's take a look. Oh, now I'm here.
That is. Who's buying that? Who's wearing that? That's what I need.
I promise you, there's some damn MAGA who's right now like, I got my Trump daddy shirt. I feel conflicting emotions about my sexuality, but I'm okay.
It's like the money they saved from their eggs being cheaper, which they're not. They're putting towards T-shirts. Like they're always able to buy so much merch despite complaining.
Right? There is like a massive merch universe out there of Trump related swag and gewgaws and stuff, and I'm always fascinated by like how tasteless it all is.
Truly, and I'd like to think this is just like piling up in someone's garage somewhere for their great grandchildren to find, like the way people find Nazi plates. They're gonna find like MAGA wear. Like, oh my God, the horror.
All right, you guys want to get started with the less fun stuff?
Let's get to work.
Hold on, let me put my glasses on since we're going to get serious. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so on Saturday night, Trump launched surprise strikes on 3 of Iran's key nuclear sites without consulting Congress. Rick, I want to hear from you on this, but first, let's hear from your leader on the latest.
Yeah, I do. They violated, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Amazing stuff.
First off, I never need to hear Donald Trump say a load like you've never seen before.
Right? Like he's got some sort of fecal fetish. It's like a fecal fetish.
Oh yeah. Nope. Don't need that at all. Do not want, send in the eye bleach.
Yeah.
So Rick, you're our resident former DOD guy. Can you get everybody up to speed here on what's happening over there and what it means for us over here?
Sure. Look, we had a mission to Fordow, which was their deeply buried underground nuclear fuel production site. We don't know what was on the site when the B-2s arrived. We don't know how effective the strike was yet. Trump, of course, immediately declared total obliteration. It's all gone. The program is over. Even his own people inside the DIA and at CENTCOM have disagreed with that assessment. But he's claiming, of course, because he's Trump, total victory. As I said yesterday, Donald Trump, no matter what the result of this was, he was going to come out and say that is a complete wipeout of everything Iran has ever planned. The concern that responsible adults looking at this would do is he gave them almost 10 days notice. They had time, and there were trucks seen at the site by satellite imagery, pulling stuff out of the site a couple days before. We don't know where their fissile material is at the moment. And so the whole thing is less certain than total obliteration. You knew he was going to do it, though. It's the same way that he says he's won the 2024 election or 2020 election. He's always going to declare victory.
Rick, so I have to, because if someone's telling me that they're going to bomb my house, like, we're going to bomb your house, and they're telling me like a week, and we're like, I'm moving out my important stuff. I'm taking my important papers.
I'm taking my boo-boos out.
Yeah, exactly. So is this just a sign that he thinks his base is that dumb? Like,
yeah.
Is that where we're at, where he can just blatantly declare victory over something where it's so very obvious? And even at one point, I think I heard somebody say like, oh, well, it's a refrigerator-sized target. I'm like, well, you can move a refrigerator fairly easily, like one of the centrifuges. So
look, you can put 750 pounds of uranium in a fucking minivan.
If you just see minivans
you're going to spend a lot of time with your teeth falling out later, and radiation burns, but you can put it in a minivan.
Yeah, a caravan of minivans.
Let's not forget that in terms of them thinking that their supporters are pretty dumb. Our Secretary of Defense was celebrated for not leaking in a Signal chat.
Was he talking about
except for the fact that Trump tweeted about it or truthed about it like 15 times before it happened?
Yeah, something like that.
And guys, the bar is so low for this administration about not leaking that it is virtually subterranean. It is deeper than the tunnels of Fordow. This is not the flex they think it is.
But I think this is like they're like doing the whole celebrate every tiny win sort of philosophy. Like this is
I think they have to take all the wins they can get. Yeah. They don't have many in this world lately. And look, here's the thing. This country has exactly 0 people who are like, yay, Iran should have nuclear weapons. 0. I mean, maybe there's some Iranian sleeper agents who think they should have nuclear weapons here. But the funniest part of this and the weirdest part of this is they kept saying over and over again, oh, well, anyone criticizing this is attacking the troops. You're attacking the pilots. You're attacking the folks who flew the bomb. Literally no one's doing that. Like no one. But they're so freaked out about this entire thing. I find it striking that they keep, in politics there's an old rule, like if you're explaining you're losing, and they keep going out and over and over and over again, trying to spin this thing as some like absolute triumph of the history of all military triumphs. Nothing's ever been bigger or better than this. It was the most secret. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you think it's the most secret mission ever and most complicated mission ever made, may I introduce you to D-Day? May I introduce you to Operation Neptune Spear, the capture of bin Laden, which managed to have over 600 people involved with it, and it didn't leak for 3.5 years. So,
And I wonder if, Rick, part of the reason why he was forecasting it over and over again is because he needed some way to recover from his disastrous birthday parade, from the No Kings protest.
Doesn't it seem like the birthday parade was like 6 years ago?
It does feel that way. It does feel that way. But I refuse to allow them to bury the energy that came out of that with all of this. Oh, we're getting 2 weeks. And so again, he's so good at shifting the conversation and making it about him. And so it was worth to him being able to throw it out there to project that this is what is going to happen.
Yeah.
He was the leak, as is said. And so it's like, to me, this obsession with it being centered around him, and it's really difficult to ignore him now because he's the president. Like, I still see people saying, just ignore him. I'm like, you can't.
That's not how it works, folks. I wish that was how it worked.
Yeah.
I wish we could just say Donald who.
Yeah, that
But
would be.
sadly, that ain't the world we live in.
So
And
with all of that going on and what we've been told is an increased risk of a domestic terror threat, have you guys seen our new head of CP3?
you know what? I think we need somebody who's got the experience and judgment of big balls, and
Who
yet
resigned?
and yet recent food service experience as well.
He seems responsible.
This is Thomas Fugate. He is a 22-year-old recent graduate from the University of Texas at San Antonio. I will keep my thoughts about that university to myself as a graduate of the University of Texas at Austin. But
Kate just threw some fucking shade.
My Longhorns know. But he his only political experience that we can suss out thus far is that he was an advance guy on Trump's 2024 campaign. And before that, he mowed lawns and he was a grocery store cashier. So
listen, there's no shame in mowing a lawn, because God knows I've mowed some fucking lawns in my day. But honest to God, running our domestic security office at DHS, this strikes me as slightly problematic, slightly less, shall we say, qualified. They're not sending their best from Trump world. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think they had to start spreading out the jobs because Marco Rubio had like 5 or 6.
Right? Right?
They're like, well, just give it on
And
down
then Marco as the deputy park ranger for Yellowstone. He's very small. He's bear-sized, small bear, but
the multitasking that he is doing is impressive, I have to say.
it is. Look, Trump fears anyone around him now who isn't like a known face and a known quantity. So Marco has proven that he will humiliate himself for Trump, and you know what? He's got plenty of gigs now. I wonder if he gets paid for all of them or just one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I feel like late at night, if he ever does get to sleep now, he's just got to be laying in bed, just going like, "What how do I get what have I gotten myself into?" And there's no way out. That's it.
Oh,
Like,
no,
there is
he is trapped. They're all trapped in, it's that scene from Watchmen. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. They're all trapped in there with Trump.
And it smells bad. So it's like a terrible place to be. Hi, Kate.
Huh?
Are we getting lectured?
No. I was going to say they were trapped behind Trump when he addressed the nation about one attacks. And
you know what those are called? Those are called blame sponges.
It was a really striking image. I saw a tweet that was like, it was a screenshot of, him walking up to the podium with those 3 idiots behind him and, every other president before him walking up alone.
Right.
So he's got his support behind him, right? But the whole MAGA coalition is really cracking around this. And we'll get to the polling on it later and how that's flipped. But talk to us a little bit about the isolationists versus the hawks here.
Well, I'll start with this. There's a world about these MAGA guys who really believed that Trump was what he claimed he was, that he was an isolationist, that he was going to keep us out of wars, all that stuff. There was a lot of belief about that in the elite MAGA circles. Now the grassroots, they kind of believed it too, but let's be honest, they're not the sharpest tools in the drawer most of the time. But they were always going to follow Trump no matter what he did or said. They were always going to say, one day they're opposed to the war. The next day they're like, Donald Trump is a strategic genius. Who am I to question his judgment? And we got a slide on that, don't we, Kate?
I think we do.
We do. Sorry.
No, it's okay. There's Marge. There's Marge.
And then
Yeah.
This was an essay. Like, she was very, very.
I think she said, Chat GPT, I'm angry. Help me sort out my feelings.
he wrote an essay, Massey's big, and then this is the flip in the polling after. Oh, no, it's not. This is the flip in the polling. That was Charlie Kirk.
I mean, imagine the mental malleability you have to be a Trump supporter. You have to be able to say, day one, X is evil and I hate it. And then on day two, say, and I'm so in love with it, I want more. It is really crazy just how far down in the humiliation hole you have to be to play this game. It's crazy.
What I thought super fun was to pop over to my Finsta, where I follow all conservative creators. And
you do.
I was deep in my Finsta on Charlie Kirk's page, because there were people in the comments who were like, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't this. We didn't want this war. We didn't want and to see other MAGA go at them with the, well, if you're not for this, you were never MAGA. Basically, like, if you're not for everything Trump said,
That's right.
You're not MAGA. And here's the thing. He lies so much, and we don't have this graphic, but he lies so much that the White House had to actually put up a trust Trump graphic,
Right.
Like a campaign. Like, if
Yes.
somebody has to ask you to trust them that much, maybe you shouldn't trust them.
Maybe you think about it for a second and say, he's a chronic pathological liar who has told us that his shit doesn't stink, and yet here is that odor. And Trump is really, I find this sort of pitiable about Trump supporters, is they always have to be in this box. They can never escape the sort of mental gymnastics he requires of them. They're always having to say, oh, well, he meant it this time. And always having to say, like, well, Trump is so smart about negotiating that there must be some 47-dimensional chess game that I don't understand.
But that he does.
But he does. Trust Trump. Trust Daddy, or you're going to CCOT.
But I'm not angry at them. I do feel more of a pity for them, because
it is. I do. I honestly do. I feel pity for people who have to contort themselves mentally and emotionally every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like a little bit. It's all the time, everywhere.
Well, it's anybody who works like in a job where there are shifting priorities. We all know how exhausting that can be, where one day the boss says, this is what we're for. And then the next day the boss says, this is what we're for. And you're constantly scrambling, trying to keep up.
Right.
That scrambles your brain and demoralizes you, makes you question everything about what you're doing. And so I think a lot of people are feeling it, which is why I am still keeping hope that the door will open of this little cage, this box. It's like Joe and you, like, they're in there, but they can get out. They can see the outside now. And maybe we can somehow just help them escape. Because if even Joe Rogan can come out and say that the ICE raids are insane, that,
think about a country or a world where the guy who helped Trump ascend to this position, one of his most important allies, is now saying, this ICE stuff is crazy. They're destroying the economy. What the hell? I mean, I just find it, I find it endlessly fascinating that the pod bros who made this election for him, who really did give him a phenomenal boost with young men, are now the ones who are like, no, man, no, this ain't good.
Yeah, no, and on Iran too. I mean, we have the Tucker Carlson interview with
with America's sweetheart, Ted Cruz.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
You know, one of my rules is that there are two types of people in the world: Ted Cruz and people who hate Ted Cruz. And at that moment, somewhere in the deepest parts of my soul, I could have almost felt human pity for Ted Cruz, but I skipped it. Instead, I just thought to myself, this guy must be short on cash because he would have ordinarily paid a dominatrix to take him that far down.
I'm sorry that everybody has to have that visual, but now you do. And
Naughty Ted! You're very naughty.
What I love most about this is that Ted Cruz like prides himself in being a great debater. Like that's something that he thinks he's very good at.
Ted Cruz actually does, Maya. He actually does. All kidding aside, no joking at all. Ted Cruz thinks of himself as a world-class debater. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I know this. I have had this very discussion. And the thought of that video existing for all time now, forever, for the rest of eternity in the cloud of Ted Cruz getting his pants pulled down and spanked by Tucker Carlson, another image you're all going to be living with forever, was magnificent.
It could be the thing that breaks him. Like, I feel like it's going to be the last thing he thinks about when he's on his deathbed one day.
There's going to come a moment where Ted Cruz is waiting to descend into the inferno one last time, and he's going to think, Tucker, like Rosebud, Tucker.
Or he's replaying it in his head right now with all the comebacks. Like, I know there's a lot of us who did like, oh, I wish I would have said this, or I could have.
There's a French phrase, I believe it's l'esprit de l'escalier, which means the wit of the staircase, which is when you're walking out of the room from somebody dissing you, you come up with every great comeback you could think of.
Rick, you are just a fountain of knowledge in two languages, apparently now. Love it. Hey, Kate.
Hi.
What next, Kate? What have I done wrong now?
Nothing. You guys are sick. Nothing. So Tucker's not on Fox anymore, but we've seen that Fox is really running back the Iraq War playbook, and that's part of why we saw that huge polling flip.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 100%.
And so if you guys can talk to us a little bit about that, and then the other thing about Fox making a lot of distraction around the one big beautiful bill.
Oh yes.
I do think, you know, you have to always remember that Fox made its bones after 9/11. And the war message of Fox after 9/11 was you're either with America or the terrorists. And believe me, when I was a Republican, you could rely on Fox to be the normative force that shaped that whole thing. I mean, I'm gonna date myself here. I half expect them to start playing drowning pool, let the bodies hit the floor as they open up segments on Iran, because they really would love to be back in the summer of 2003 right now.
But this is the thing, Rick. We're in such a different world. Like, I remember the Islamophobia and the fear factor, if you will, the Joe Rogan thing around it. And it was a very different world then. And so I think people were, we were ready to hate the French. We were like, screw
freedom fries.
With American fries now. Now people are like looking at this Islamophobia a little bit sideways. Like, it's a little like, okay.
Well, and here's the problem. Let's be quite direct about it. It was not Iran who launched 9/11. It was funded by our Saudi allies. So yeah, there is that. That's a little bit of a narrative difficulty for the boys and girls at Fox, as they try to spend as much time as they can talking about anything except the giant, horrifying bill from hell.
Everybody hates the bill.
Everybody hates the bill, including Republicans. It's not popular. Now, will it pass? Probably, because they do have a death wish. But the bill is deeply unpopular right now.
And a lot of what we're seeing, I think, is to distract from it, Rick. And what I'm glad that even our senior citizens are coming out. I don't know. I'm sure everybody's seen the clip. I think we have the clip that protesting the cuts in Medicaid, because the Medicaid cuts are going to potentially force the closure of rural hospitals. But it's also potentially going to take away care from people who genuinely need it to survive, like our senior citizens.
Yep.
Zip ties on grandma and grandpa. Like, what? First of all,
So let me get this straight. If you go into the Capitol and ransack the place, you're a hero.
It's a tour.
If you're a senior who goes to the Capitol to protest Medicare and Medicaid cuts, that will probably mean you're going to live the rest of your life eating cat food. You get handcuffed. Great. I think we just have so much to be proud of in this country right now.
Well, and that's exactly it, Rick. Like, I watched that clip. When I first saw it, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, right now, things keep happening where I have to keep fact checking things that I know are actually true, but I refuse to allow my brain to set.
Right. No, I get it. I was
like, I'm going to check 10 sources for this right now, because are these AI generated wheelchairs? Like, there's no way that this administration is this depraved.
There is no bottom. There is no lower limit. There's no edge case. There's no moment where they go, wow, this is too much, isn't it, man? We got to back off on this. Think about it. 2 weeks ago, and it seems like 3 months ago, Donald Trump came out and said, yeah, you know what? A lot of these immigrants have been here for 30 years. They work on farms and restaurants. Their employers love them. We're going to stop going after them. It wasn't even 6 hours before President Miller had reversed Donald Trump's decision. There is no level of depravity these guys won't stoop to. They are that completely brain broken at every single level.
And it's chaos. So you have food rotting in the fields. The whole immigration piece of things is so off the walls crazy right now that the internet is just awash with these like evil, like almost like, remember cops, like bad boy. Like, it's this like terrifying. It's basically she's getting the reality show that she wanted. Kristi Noem, who wanted to do the immigration reality show. I basically feel like that's what we're seeing. And At the same time, it's like we're having to do triage because this bill, they're hoping to pass this bill by the 4th of July, which...
Yeah. And look, the bill's in some trouble, not only because it's unpopular, but because now, and folks, I just ride with me as you try to process this thought. It's losing Republican support because the bill is no longer punitive enough for them. It doesn't hurt enough people. The bill is no longer providing enough cuts to child health and food stamp programs. The guys like Rick Scott and Tommy Tuberville and these other guys in the Senate in particular were like, no, we want more cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Mitch McConnell said, well, there's cuts in Medicare and Medicaid, but they're just going to have to get over them.
And that this is their new party line where it's just like, no, you just have to get over it. You're all going to die eventually. Maybe it'll just be sooner. It's such a wild way to try to push legislation through. And yet people are pushing back. Like the stuff on the public lands, like you have the hunters and fishers and people who we wouldn't necessarily think would be screaming at Congress about taking things out of the bill.
That part of the bill, much like everything else about Mike Lee, was so deeply unpopular that John Thune, I was told, went to Mike Lee and said, you either take it out or it's going to get taken out. And Lee said no. And so they ended up having it taken out because it was a real deal killer for Western states in particular, who, as one may have noticed, tend to be a little more red than the rest of America.
Do you think people with the Medicaid cuts don't understand, Rick, how it's going to impact them regardless of whether or not they're on Medicaid?
Listen, here's the one that I just love. A lot of these boomer or X generation MAGA guys are like, yeah, I want to cut those freeloaders down. And they're going to realize they're going to get a phone call in a few weeks from the nursing home where mom and dad are. And they're going to say, hey, we can't stay here anymore. We're moving back home. It's going to be great. They're going to love it. They're going to love it. Full-time caregiver. You're going to probably have to lose those cheap sunglasses and that F1 or that Ford F-250 there, bro, and get some Crocs and some comfortable clothes on because you're going to be cleaning mom and dad up.
And so the murder bill, as we've called it here before, was dealt a setback today when the Senate parliamentarian ruled to exclude key Medicaid provisions meant to sway these GOP votes. So
how long did it take for the death threats to start is my question.
Dan Crenshaw already proposed firing her. So
Dan Crenshaw's not even in the fucking Senate. So, but okay.
Yeah, he was tweeting about that today. And then the other reason that sort of,
because why should the world's greatest deliberative body have actual rules that it has to follow?
One more thing I want to talk about on this, and then we have to move on, is sort of speaking of conservative media and how, everything gets spun and why people don't know about Medicaid. I want you guys to take a look at this Media Matters study that found Fox News mentions Biden more than it mentions Medicaid at an average rate of 10-1. And on Jesse Waters' show, it's 55-1.
Look, I guess Joe Biden must have taken his girl at some point because Jesse Waters has a real obsession with Joe Biden.
I was going to say, and obviously for the
man,
audience,
I bit my tongue. I almost said something much dirtier. Man, I was so close. It was going to be so good. And then we get complaints.
I was like, you biting your tongue is not something I see happen too often. So
no, but you know what I almost said.
I was like, go for it.
Then again, Jesse Waters is Jesse Waters is one of those people. And somebody said this to me one time. I was on a TV show one time. The guy goes, "You know what I like about you on my show?" I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "You're funny, but you're not a comedian, and you know you're not a comedian. So you don't try to be a comedian on my show." And I like that. And I said, "Well, yeah, thank you." And he goes, "Some people have a bit and they think the bit's funny, and it's not funny. Jesse Waters has a bit and it's never funny. He's not funny."
He's
it's
awkward.
just awkward as fuck.
He's very awkward. We both called it at the same time,
Yep.
almost. Jinx, buy me a Coke. Here's the thing. They know that Biden is still the thing, which is crazy to me, that we're this far into the Trump presidency and Biden is still the buzzword that like gets their audience all like,
isn't it crazy? It's like at some point Trump will have to say, because he'll have to admit, that it's his economy. But even now, 6 months in, after all the insanity he's done, he's like, this is all Joe Biden's fault. Those tariffs Joe Biden put out there are definitely killing America.
You'd think they'd be building a tolerance somehow. And maybe that's what's happening. They're building a tolerance to the word Biden. And so 2 years from now, Fox News, it's just going to be Biden, like literally one word.
Let's put it this way. George Soros's contributions to Democratic politics peaked in 2004. And yet, if you turn on Fox News, you would think that George Soros was secretly in a bunker somewhere running the entire Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah, they know what's effective, unfortunately.
Sadly true.
All right, so our last big one for today is the New York City mayoral Democratic primary. On Tuesday, in a stunning upset victory over former governor and disgraced sex pest Andrew Cuomo, the 33-year-old Democratic Socialist underdog Zohran Mamdani became the presumptive Democratic nominee in New York City's mayoral race. So I expect that we might have some differing Zohran opinions on the panel, certainly in the chat, but those opinions aside, I think there's a lot that Democrats can take away from this campaign, and there are right things and wrong things to take away from it. So, Rick, you know, campaign veteran, I'm very curious what
also
your
former senior advisor to the mayor of New York City. So I have been to this rodeo a time or two.
Let's not forget.
Look, first off, let me say this about Mamdani. He ran an absolutely letter perfect, brilliant campaign. I mean, an absolutely brilliant campaign that exploited, and I mean that in the best way, and leveraged his charisma, which he has a lot of, and he was running against a perfect foil in Cuomo, just a perfect foil. He's going to be mayor, and for better or for worse, he's going to be mayor. And I will say one thing about the delta between a great campaign and being a great leader sometimes is that you can't implement on all the things you think you wanted to do because reality steps in. And New York is a tough city to govern. It is a really hard place to run. And every day you're confronted with a billion streetlights that are out and school roofs that are leaking and cops who get hurt on the job and a million crises. And I hope his base recognizes that once you have to govern, and it's not always going to be, as romantic as some of the DSA stuff may seem to some of his supporters. Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, my thing, Rick, is like watching his videos has been a joy. I remember when I first
they're great.
I'm like, oh, this guy, he's entertaining, he's engaging. But one thing that I notice is that he listens, and that is something that across the board, that's what worked for Trump, is that he listens to his base. And so the fact that he went door to door throughout New York City, talking to people to really understand and talk about their problems like this, he could have made this race about him because he is, conventionally attractive. He's has this cool rap persona. He could have done all of that, but instead he's like, no, I want to talk about the economy. I want to talk about how we can make New York livable. I want to talk about actual solutions. And I think that's what resonated with a lot of people in New York City. And here's the thing, I love New York. I absolutely love New York. And I love how multicultural New York is. Whenever I'm in New York and I'm on the subway and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 6 different languages being spoken here. Right. And the city still functions. Like, it's almost like this, I look at it and I'm like, if New York City can function the rest, we should all as a country be able to function. It's like this microcosm of what we could be. Yeah, maybe it's a little dirty and there's rats here and there. Sure. Okay. But I think he's what New York needs. And I think people are actually going to give him some grace when he's not able to make all of these,
Yeah. I mean, look, I will say this. Some of the promises are big and probably will run into two very corrupt democratic institutions, Albany, New York, and the New York City Council, neither of which are well, they're corrupt.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, I guess there's no other word for it. They are corrupt as hell.
I'm from Albany. I don't know if you know this, Rick. My whole family.
I did not know you were from Albany.
Yeah, I grew up in Albany up until age 11, and so I knew about the Cuomos because Cuomo was his dad.
Yeah,
I guess it was his dad.
Yeah, Mario.
And I remember how corrupt they were, even as I was a kid, and I knew they were corrupt. So go ahead.
He was a brilliant communicator, but there's a reason why he never went beyond being governor of New York. That brilliant communicator thing was great, but it was, I guess, one of those things where like it's necessary but not necessarily sufficient. But look, I do think he's going to have a very interesting role to play in the national dialogue. I think he's going to have a sort of exciting charge about him with a lot of grassroots folks.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage Democrats to look at his campaign more than the issue set, because the campaign was engaging, it was fun, it was fast, the video editing was great.
Well, his mom's a filmmaker. I didn't know she made.
Yeah, his mom's a filmmaker. His dad's a
Masala.
professor. He comes from the Upper West Side. He comes from money. He's good to have resources. I will say that the mayoralty of New York is a bit of a trap. It makes you think that you can do anything on the one hand, but Michael Bloomberg, Bill de Blasio, Rudy Giuliani, a lot of people who've been mayor of New York want to be something bigger, and they rarely do. It's just a hard job. I'm not disparaging the guy. It's such a tough and rigorous city that you will end up
like Rudy Giuliani. No, sorry.
Yeah, believe me, we knew the crazy was coming out even back then, but the difficulty is you are the chief executive of one of the biggest cities in the world. You feel like you're 20 feet tall. You handle very tough, consequential decisions every single day. And then you want to go be president or U.S. senator or whatever, and it's hard. It's just not as easy as it looks on paper.
Yeah, I agree, Rick. I think people are needing something aspirational, that hope.
Couldn't agree more.
Like right now, people are like, please promise me ice cream on Fridays. Like that is where everyone is at, because it feels dark when you look at national politics. And so I think for the people, I saw so many people in comments say, he's my mayor and I'm in California. He's my mayor and I'm in Ohio. Like that's, right. I wrote him in on a piece of paper and sent it in the mail. Like that's,
look, again, I think anybody who looks at this campaign has to study it from a communication standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Every day it was about affordability. And he kept repeating affordability, affordability, affordability. Why? First off, that's a really good message. If you're a Democratic candidate in any state, talk about affordability right now, because Trump is making everything less affordable. And look, is he going to be able to freeze rent in New York? He's going to have to go to Albany and to the city council. And he's going to run into a wall. Is he going to put city-owned grocery stores in neighborhoods? Look, that sounds a little Soviet to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like,
I will say the world is littered with a lot of experiments like that did not work out the way people thought.
Yeah.
But again, look, he ran a brilliant campaign. He had charisma. He was engaging. He talked about the right things over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So no hate there.
Yeah, no, I think it is to be studied, because I see a lot of campaigns that are snooze fests right now, and
yes,
snooze fest is not. People want to. I think somebody said it's like the Democratic Party right now is split between fighters and people who are just complacent and sitting around and doing it. It's not about the super progressive left party wing of the Democrats, and it's no. Are you willing to fight for our democracy? Are you in touch with what people are feeling? Like, people have go bags right now. Like, I have conversations with people left and right who are preparing to leave the country and are just looking for what the red line is. And maybe the red line is, things that we're seeing the Supreme Court make decisions on this week. And so we're, I was like, I want to end on a high note, but the fact of the matter is, like, laws are being, this Supreme Court, with these 6-3 splits
it's incredibly, we live in a perilous moment. And so when people hear somebody who's optimistic and who's cheerful and who is trying to press forward in a way that doesn't come across as doom and gloom, they respond to it.
Yeah. And when it comes across as, hey, I understand that there are a wide variety of people who live in my city, and I'm going to try to speak to all of them. I think watching Trump run the administration as if half the country is
his enemy. Yeah.
Right. Like, that we're all going to be rounded up and sent to Alligator Alcatraz or whatever they're calling it. Like, at some point, the homegrowns are going to be the guy next door. And so I think a politics of some level of inclusivity is welcomed.
And not just that. It's also, there's also, I think, a degree of being a happy warrior in campaigns is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being a happy warrior, it's a Hubert Humphrey phrase from the dawn of time. But being a happy warrior where you look like you're enjoying yourself and you look like you like people. Because let me tell you something about Andrew Cuomo's campaign. I don't think he came out in public at all. I think he was hidden in a damn bunker somewhere because he just was invisible in the whole campaign. And that's just not the world that works. That's not how campaigns work anymore. You can't just tweet your way out of a campaign where you're a deeply unpopular, a corrupt sex pest, as Kate said. So,
which a lot of people are saying as well. So Kate,
as one
that
does,
one, on the because he is. I think my daughter asked me. She's like, "Did he really say that I'm not a predator? I'm just Italian or something? What did he say?" But I said, unfortunately, I do believe he did say that.
Tell me how that works out with the ladies, Mario or
my goodness.
Andrew.
So, what Rick? What's giving you, before we close? What's giving you hope? Is there anything giving you hope this week?
I will say this: the contradictions inside Trump world are starting to really get very heated now, and we're about to see some purging in Trump world. We're about to see some infighting in Trump world that is going to amuse and delight. Tulsi's on her way out.
Yeah, we didn't mention Tulsi. I was wondering if she
wasn't even allowed in the briefings for the attack.
Well, she used to have merch that was like "No war in Iran," and so I was kind of wondering where. Oh, hi, Kate.
No, you're good. Did you guys see the clip of him at like one of his tarmac talks? Like, really breaking from Tulsi Gabbard. I'm gonna.
Right. I don't know what.
Can you play that? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
A vote of confidence, a real vote of confidence.
That is the kind of leader you really want to work for.
Yeah, I was gonna say I posted. I spent a lot of time looking on LinkedIn to see what people say about Trump on LinkedIn, because I was like, if the things that he puts out on Truth Social and on Twitter, if the head of a company put out those kind of statements,
if a CEO anywhere said things like Trump says, the board would call them and go, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
Exactly.
no.
And I think that's across the board. People can kind of get on board with that being true. And so when I went over to LinkedIn to see, it seemed like most of the posts that I saw were pro-Trump posts. And so I'm realizing the corporate world, because a lot of people might have their head buried in not paying attention to what's happening on Twitter and Truth Social. I think it's time to give them a taste of the truths. And I think it's time to start, hey, everybody, if you just start posting his truths on LinkedIn and just say, is this what you think a leader looks like?
Yeah. For instance, today saying that the Democrats need to be imprisoned. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a really logical thing to do. Let's get right on that, Donald.
Yeah, thank goodness Geo Group and is building more prisons for all of the Democrats to go into. That's
if you don't find CCOT to your liking, the Geo Group has a host of other options of various medieval style torture systems where they serve Geo Group's special, most delightful product. It's called Prison Loaf.
Maybe we'll get brochures and we'll get to pick. That's actually great. I like that narrator voice, Rick, because I would love at least to be able to pick which prison I get sent to, and perhaps who my roommate. Will we get to pick who we room with? I don't know.
I hope so. Listen, I'm hoping I get to send to Gitmo. I want one of the bungalows.
Too many mosquitoes.
Oh, bless you. I'm in Florida. I have enough mosquitoes.
Yeah, I can't. They love me, so I can't go there. Just can't. Well, okay. I feel like that the hopeful came through, because I do see them fracturing, and I think with every lie that gets blatantly exposed, as people see their friends and their neighbors and their community getting snatched away, I think it's an opportunity, it's an off-ramp, and I think it's important for us to use those off-ramps and try to peel away as much support as we can from Trump. And so I think a lot of people, the cognitive dissonance is real right now. And so we just need to make it louder. Make the cognitive dissonance louder.
It doesn't have quite the same ring as MAGA, but it's pretty good. All right, folks. You've probably had enough of us now.
Yes, we've had enough of us. Hopefully by
Kate. I like the pop-in. I like the pop-up Kate.
Yeah.
The what?
The pop-up Kate.
Oh, wait, come back.
What?
Oh, hi. Oh, you're popping up. I get it. I see it now.
Yes.
See what you did there.
Get the joke right away.
Yes.
All right.
We'll hopefully nothing too crazy will happen between now and next week. That's our let's just keep it chill,
keep the
America.
faith, everybody.
Keep it chill.
All right.